Professor Koh Lian Pin.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I declare my interest as a professor at NUS. Budget 2022 introduces measures that reflect the many challenges and opportunities that Singapore faces as we emerge from this pandemic. The budget addresses important bread and butter issues by investing in immediate support for our businesses, our workforce, and our households. These measures will help Singaporeans manage the cost of living, ensure we continue to track a strong and steady economic recovery, and create new jobs and opportunities for all. At the same time, the budget also acknowledges several additional priorities, such as strengthening our social support system, transitioning to a greener economy, and tackling climate change as a global emergency. These social, economic, and environmental sustainability measures are hugely important because they help build our resilience against present and future shocks to the well-being of our fellow Singaporeans, our economy, and our natural environment. Achieving these goals will not be easy and requires careful consideration of the many trade-offs, particularly when different priorities require common and limited resources, such as our land. Some of these new measures may also require businesses to acknowledge the environmental costs of their activities. Faced with these challenges, it may be useful to look back at the most testing times in Singapore's history for insights and inspiration that may guide us forward decisively and successfully. In his speech to the Singapore Press Club in February of 1972, former senior minister, the late Mr. S. Rajaratnam, noted that he once believed Singapore as a small city-state, and I quote, "without a natural hinterland, without a large domestic market, and no raw materials to speak of, has a near zero chance of survival politically, economically, or militarily," end quote. However, when Mr. Rajaratnam made that speech, he immediately acknowledged that he had already been proven wrong. Singapore had in fact not only survived, but also begun to thrive. The reason for that, as Mr. Rajaratnam observed, is because we had been transforming ourselves into a new kind of city, the global city. We had begun to view ourselves not as a self-contained city-state, not as a regional city, but rather as a world-embracing global city. Fast forward to today, as we embark on our sustainability journey, we may wish to consider that Singapore can be a global city for sustainability. In the same way that Singapore has had to transform ourselves when faced with an existential crisis half a century ago, we have to pivot ourselves yet again today as we face the existential crisis of climate change. By working with other global cities as our eager collaborators, our allies, our co-inventors of new knowledge, new technologies, and new opportunities, we can leverage our respective strengths, overcome our individual weaknesses, and amplify our capacity to meet our challenges. As a global city for sustainability, size matters not, because the world is our hinterland. We can free ourselves from the shackles of our geographic limitations. We can expand the canvas of our imagination through innovation. We can collaborate with other global cities to address the emerging sustainability challenges that the world faces. Singapore as a global city for sustainability is not just a thought experiment. The transformation has already begun. Let me highlight a few examples in the areas of research, education, and actions. The Cities of Tomorrow R&D program is a multi-agency effort led by the Ministry of National Development to identify challenges that cities face and to develop solutions to address these challenges. This program has several research-focused areas that address our sustainability goals. For example, the program will develop solutions for creating a more people-centric and pleasant living environment by addressing the impacts of climate change in cities, while considering the social sentiments and needs of the people and communities. As Minister Desmond Lee noted during the Urban Sustainability R&D Symposia 2021, and I quote, "We aspire to build a city that not only meets our physical needs, but that also enables us to forge strong relationships and deep emotional connections with each other," end quote. The program will also support our transformation into a city in nature by developing the necessary tools and techniques for enhancing biodiversity and our natural environment and implementing nature-based solutions to tackle climate change. These are timely and important goals that will undoubtedly deliver new insights and innovations to benefit Singapore. In fact, as a global city for sustainability, we may want to be even more ambitious by not only developing solutions that cater to Singapore's needs, but also exporting the solutions we develop to meet the needs of other cities around the world. This requires our universities and research institutes to work collaboratively with our public, private, and people sectors towards a common vision of transforming Singapore into a global city for sustainability. Another area that requires close collaboration between these different sectors is education. During the Straits Times Education Forum 2022, held in February this year, Minister Chan Chun Sing highlighted the need for Singapore to retrain about 500,000 adult learners each year through continuing education and training programs. As Minister Chan noted, and I quote, "The skills to learn fast, unlearn, and relearn become more important than getting a particular grade at a particular point in life," end quote. This is especially true in our nascent but rapidly growing sustainability sector, where the need and demand for the upskilling of our workforce may prove to be the greatest. Fortunately, our educational institutions have already been rising to the challenge. For example, Ngee Ann Polytechnic offers a specialist diploma in sustainable facilities management. Temasek Polytechnic offers a diploma in energy management and sustainable design. SMU offers an executive education program on sustainability and sustainable businesses. And NUS offers a Master of Science program on sustainable and green finance, just to name a few. Many of these training programs are taught by both academics and industry leaders who are eager to share their perspectives, knowledge, and experience in the field of sustainability. There is clearly more to be done to build capacity on sustainability across different sectors and value chains. My recent discussions with stakeholders in Singapore point to three main buckets of skills gap as follows. First, the most basic and foundational knowledge on climate change and sustainability that every worker should possess. Second, function-specific skill sets to ensure the capacity of corporate function departments to support the rest of the company in developing and deploying sustainability initiatives. And third, sector-specific competencies to enable the successful transition of key industries towards more sustainable business models and practices. Importantly, as we continue to develop and deploy more training programs to fill these gaps, we should also be cognizant of the needs of other cities. By helping other cities build their capacity for addressing climate change and sustainability challenges, Singapore may also become a sustainability academy for the world. With the bold and decisive announcements in this budget of our net zero ambition by or around mid-century, and our revised carbon tax policy, we are signaling to the world that Singapore is absolutely serious about taking concrete actions to tackle climate change. As Minister Grace Fu recently highlighted, our carbon tax increase sends a clear signal to companies that emissions have an explicit environmental cost. Companies must factor these costs in their business decisions. By putting an appropriate price on carbon, we are incentivizing companies to transition to renewable energy, to improve their energy efficiencies, and to invest in cleaner technologies. More importantly, as many of our Singapore-based companies have international value chains, these changes in corporate decision-making and behavior can have far-reaching global impacts. But in my opinion, there is an even more important and impressive aspect of our revised carbon tax policy. From 2024, carbon tax liable businesses will be allowed to use international carbon credits to offset up to 5% of their taxable carbon emissions. This is nothing short of visionary, as also noted by Mr. Mikael Larsen, CEO of Climate Impact X. This measure will go a long way towards supporting the growth of a vibrant international carbon market to achieve climate impact at scale. Crucially, this will also create demand for high-quality, nature-based carbon offsets to help support forest conservation and reforestation projects internationally. These green transition measures are well aligned with Singapore's ambition to be a global carbon services and trading hub. Mr. Speaker, sir, to transform Singapore into a global city for sustainability will demand a measure of courage, imagination, and intelligence, to borrow the words of Mr. Rajaratnam. I am optimistic about the odds of our success, not least because our youth are bursting at the seams with an overwhelming sense of civic virtue, purpose, and pride. In more ways than one, they are the reason we are on this sustainability journey. Ms. Kate Yeo, born and raised in Singapore, is currently a first-year undergraduate student at Dartmouth College in the US. Kate is deeply passionate about environmental and sustainability issues in Singapore and has been regularly posting her explainers and thoughts on Instagram as BYO_BottleSG. After hearing about the green transition initiatives on Budget Day, Kate posted the following on Instagram, and I quote, "Still lots of details to be released. And of course, we'll still have to see how these policies will work in practice. But on the whole, I'm hopeful simply because Singapore is sometimes painfully pragmatic and we don't set targets we can't hit. If the government says net zero by or around 2050, I have faith we'll get there." End quote. Mr. Speaker, sir, fellow members of Parliament, and fellow Singaporeans, in these challenging times, our youth are rallying behind us, behind our measures. They are putting their trust in us to do the right thing and to succeed. We must not fail them. At the heart of cities are their people. While Singapore is uniquely challenged in several ways, we are also uniquely endowed in other ways. In particular, the indomitable spirit of our people has enabled us to survive and thrive throughout our history, despite all odds. As we emerge from yet another crucible of fire, to borrow the Prime Minister's words, we will level up and emerge even stronger yet again. As Singapore confronts climate change and other sustainability challenges, we have the opportunity to be part of something bigger than ourselves, to punch above our weight once more, to achieve happiness, prosperity, and progress, not just for our nation, but also the world, charting our new way forward together as a bright green spark, as a global city for sustainability. Sir, I support the budget and thank you for the privilege to speak.